I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. On Tuesdays, I ask my Facebook friends and my Instagram friends for Topic Tuesday. What is a topic that they would like to hear me talk about on this video for Wednesday? So today our topic comes from Stephanie, who would like to know how to calm that internal chaos. And then I had Marianne say, how do we, to ask me to speak about money blocks. So that's going to be our topics today, is how to calm internal chaos and money blocks. And could they be directly linked? Could they be close to each other? Yes, it makes perfect sense. But also it's more expansive than that, because internal chaos can come from a wide variety of things. So we're going to talk about that today. And if you like that, then please hit the like and subscribe button below. I'm going to lead you on a little guided meditation at the end, so please hang in there. Also, I want to remind you that I have a webpage. That webpage is called stacyforlife.com. I write a monthly blog on this webpage, so I invite you to read those, but it gives a description of the services that I provide as a life coach. I deal with addiction, codependency, and grief, but not exclusively to those things, because underneath those things lies a desire for healing and healthy relationships, as well as development of spiritual and soul consciousness. So what we do, and when I say we, I'm talking about you and me, because I can't do it by myself, and you can't do it by yourself. Now, there's many things that we can't do by ourselves, so we're going to talk about that more in the topic today. But what we do is we dig up that stuff that's on top of your soul, because you see, I am not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a scientist, any of those things. What we do is we work with your soul. So what I do is I try to help you find those blockages that keep you from your highest and best good. So if you or anyone you know needs help in that area, then please feel free once again to check me out at stacyforlife.com. Okay? All right, thanks. So when we get into this topic today, how to calm the internal chaos. First, we're going to go to that money blocks part, but there's many different parts, like I said, so hang in here. If that's not your section, we'll get to your section, because it affects us, financially, but it affects us physically, it affects us emotionally, it affects us spiritually, and it affects us mentally. So we're going to cover all of those, maybe not in that exact same order, because I've got it written down here, but hang in here. So when we're looking at money blocks, is that, we have to get back to the point of lack, because it's a lack mentality in money blocks. And I know that when this all started here in 2020, all this breakdown, whatever it is, it's on so many levels. What's affecting us is affecting us on all those levels, and it may affect one area, it may affect all of those areas, it may affect a few of those areas. But I've seen and experienced and worked with people on this. So in the beginning, people were saying financially, I should be in a better place than I am right now. I should have done this. I should, I'm 30 years old. I should be here. I'm 40 years old. I should be here. And people were feeling wrecked because they thought that they were supposed to be somewhere that they're not. And, so that's one thing. So looking at it that way, but really it all comes from looking at that lack, because we're all where we're supposed to be. And if we're discouraged, it's just a growing thing, a growing point in our lives. So we looked at the financial, and we'll take a deeper look at that in probably another video in its own, because this covers so many. So hang in there, Marianne. Maybe next week we'll just deal strictly with financial. So then we look at the physical. So talking to people during this time with the physical, it's either come out in weight gain or people ordering too much stuff. They're ordering stuff or buying stuff, from the outside. The physical with the weight gain, a lot of people eat to make themselves feel better, or because they're bored. Same thing with the ordering or buying stuff, is that people have intentions. So they think that I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, and and they end up, all over the place because the intent, those are really distractions. So it's getting down to what is the distraction. So far we've looked at the financial, and it comes from, lack mentality, thinking of lack. And then when we get into this part, we're looking at the physical, about the distractions. So those things are what keep you from having that calmness, right? So it's really cool in that part that, the organizing and decorating for the soul is that I used to work from the outside in. So I would go in people's houses and get things in order for them, and then they felt better on the inside. But now I work from the inside out, where I try to get people to feel better on the inside so that it reflects outside, because internal and external go together. That's a part of the polarities that I talk about. And then we're going to get into the emotional part, because I've talked to people during this time with depression, because they too think they should know better or be better, and they shouldn't talk to me about the depression. They shouldn't, and what's happened is that they feel like the world's crumbling in on them. Either they're alone during this time, or they're, things just feel like they're crumbling in on them. They feel alone. They feel like they can't talk to anybody. They feel kind of isolated. And so when we're looking at the emotional, we're looking at some feelings there. And I want to tell you that if you're thinking it, if you're that depressed where you're thinking of taking your life, to please not do that. To please call 911 or call the suicide hotline, to reach out to somebody, to tell somebody. When we're talking and things are coming up, that it feels better to be able to get it out and to not feel alone, because there's other people feeling the same way. So emotionally, we like to be connected to people. So when we look at that emotional part and we're looking at the other part, we're looking at disconnection. So we've talked about the financial and lack. We've talked about the physical as far as the distraction. So now we're looking at the emotional, and that is the feeling disconnected. So then when we get to look at the mental, and that's the communication. There's so many people that aren't able to communicate their wants and needs and desires, so that may call for the distractions. That may call for the feeling disconnected if they don't feel like they can communicate that, So then, of course, that it's all blending. You see what I'm saying? It can all fall in and have this trickle-down effect. And so then we look at the spiritual, and I chose the spiritual to be last because I believe that the answer to this question is, how do we find calm in the internal chaos, is a spiritual connection. And that's not religious, but some people are having issues religiously because they can't attend church, and everything feels like it's being tested right now, right? I mean, in some ways, everything's still surreal. It's still surreal for me. I walk around and as a life coach, I'm looking at the tracking, of last year to this year, and last year we didn't see what we're having, happen this year, what we're experiencing this year. So it's very confusing. Confusion can cause all of those things. Obviously, the real outcomes can cause some of those things. Some people are struggling with one or more of those issues like I just talked about. But the answer is spiritual, and it is telling somebody, like I mentioned before, because we want to be, instead of being lack, we want to feel like we're abundant, whatever that looks like to us. For me, I know that doesn't look like a big house with all these rooms that I can't clean and don't have people in, and a car that I have to squat to sit in. That's not what abundance looks like to me. Comfort is what abundance looks like to me, is to be able to have peace. That's what abundance looks like to me. So what does abundance look like to you? Really, I think this time that we're going through right now has made us really think about, what does abundance look like to us when we're feeling lack. And then we look at the physical and the distractions. Really what it's calling for is our attention. So what is it that you really need attention, because these distractions are causing some depression, right? Because then when we end up with all this stuff on top of us feeling like we're caved in, we become depressed. So then if you're dealing with depression, what you want to find is joy. So how do you get to the other side from depression to joy? So that I believe that the answer is spiritual to that, because it's gratitude, and it's hard to find gratitude when you're feeling depressed like that. And then we even get shamed for not feeling gratitude. I know that the people that I talk to with, depression, many of them felt bad, because we know in these times that some people have bigger problems, but our depression is real. So I want you to sit with that and to know that your depression is real. And like I said, if you're having any kind of suicidal thoughts, please know that there are other people who care about you. See, because the depression comes from us not feeling connected to people, and they want to feel connected to us, but sometimes we are isolating ourselves by not telling that one person, and that people do care. You are somebody's father, son, mother, daughter, sister, brother, something, and somebody cares. And even if not them, sometimes we have these families in recovery outside of our families, and we have people who are feeling the same way or have felt the same way that can share with us and help us out of these things. So please, no permanent solutions for temporary problems. And I know this one seems like it's gone on forever, and we don't even know how long it can go on. So again, it goes back to that spiritual solution. For me, there's been times when I, didn't feel good about what was going on. But at the same time, I can say that I have accomplished some of the goals that I set out to accomplish before we knew what was going to happen with 2020. If you look back at my blogs, the first blog was, about our dreams and our goals and our visions, and we didn't, some of us didn't stop that, but some of us felt bombarded by this. Some people feel things more deeply. Let's say if there's an energy of depression right now, some people are feeling that whole entire energy, because it is out there. I know, you can feel it. When we work on ourselves and tell another person and desire to get healthy, and when I say when we tell another person, that doesn't mean 10, because I also talked to a friend this week that she was dealing with something, and she asked many different people, and she told me, I'm just really confused right now. When I'm talking to you all, I suggest telling one, no more than 3 friends, and trying to get answers there, trying to get a different perspective, thoughts and perspectives, because when I say that we work together, what I do with people is that we, dig out the stuff in the closets that no longer fits, no longer serves people. And then we dig underneath to clear their thoughts. And then we dig underneath the bed to get those scary bits out that block our perspectives, that darken those perspectives, and so that we can see the light and be able to move forward. Because those things do hold you back from your highest and best good, because people feel overwhelmed, whether it's external or internal. And it all reflects back and forth. So when we're talking about chaos, that chaos is probably reflecting outwards. So if you feel like that there are things that you don't need, that are in your life, whether it be in your physical house or in your house of your mind, or then it's time to do the work on it and see about removing it. What is that attachment to those things? What are the attachment to those beliefs? And that's how we calm that. And that's also where the money blocks come from. Before we can help other people with money issues, we have to work on the money issues ourselves. Or how are you going to help and guide somebody to the way? When we're looking to get out of somewhere where we feel lost, do you want somebody who's lost too to help you get out, or do you want somebody who is a guide that can help you get out? And so the spiritual way, is to be able to reconnect. Because what I learned with in my recovery my recovery groups, which I've talked to you about before, is that when I work the steps, the first time I worked the steps obviously was on my addiction. which enabled me to get a better connection to my higher power, you see, because I had religion growing up. I had been a part of a religion, but that religion did not keep me clean. So I had to develop a relationship with my higher power. You may call him the all, you may call him the source, you may call him the I am, you may call him God, whoever, because I believe God meets everyone where they're at, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Jewish, whether you're whatever. God meets us where we're at, and we're just all able to learn different things. So about each other. And that's why we're all supposed to be united, I believe. Because I don't think that God would just speak to one group of people. I believe God speaks to us all in different languages. I think we can embody those languages. So I have friends that they have one belief system and I have another, because when you're spiritual, you have your own relationship with your higher power, whoever you perceive that to be. It may be a him, it may be a her, it may be the sun, it may be the moon, it may be all of that embodied and encompassed in one, because that's what I believe God is that God is everything. But I've had to grow that relationship myself, you see, because first off, I worked on developing a relationship with God through my addiction, like I said, but then nextly was my codependency. That was my relationship with other people, because I thought it was other people, but I first had to start with working on that relationship again with myself. I had to learn how to communicate with my higher power so I could express my wants and needs, desires to people, because oftentimes that is what the biggest block is for having a calmness in all these storms and all this, chaos, is that when we're connected to something else greater than ourselves, when you know that you have a lifeline somewhere, your life force even, is when we know that we have that as long as we're breathing this air, that we have a reason for being here. So, it's not to give up, it's to evolve. Remember last week when I was talking about the perfect life, when we have depression, emotional problems, mental problems, it comes from thinking that things are supposed to be another way than they actually are. So that's one way that we can be connected. We talked about feeling disconnected with the depression, and so to feel connected, we have to dig deeper into our life force, into that, the source. So then I learned to communicate better with people, my wants and needs and desires, but I had to practice that, just like I had to practice staying clean. I had to practice communicating with my source and with other people. But then there was still that money block issue, right? Because I still felt guilty about some things, and so maybe I would spend money when I didn't need to spend money on my kids, and other people may do it in other areas of their life, or just to distract themselves, like I said earlier. But when we look at why we're doing things, and then, so the third time that I worked my steps was about finance and romance, because my relationships, I was still learning how to have romantic relationships. I had learned how to deal with people on not an intimate level, but on an intimate level, I was still practicing. So I had to work on it, myself even further there. And then on that money issue, change my relationship with the money. So it was all about evolving these relationships that we have, right? And so I worked on that. I'm not saying everybody has to work the steps. That's why I do life coaching, because I don't believe that everybody has to work the steps to get better and to evolve. Like I said, we're met in different places, in different areas. So then the next time, I just worked to just kind of give myself a work, actually the next time was on my grief, because I was powerless and my life was unmanageable about my grief. And I was insane, and I had to make a decision to turn my will and my life over. See, this is the thing, is that we have to remember that we continue to grow our relationship, that there's no plateau. We grow our relationship as long as we are out here in our different changes, the different seasons of our lives, is that we have to continue to evolve. we can't just stay the same. We weren't intended to just stay the same, not even when we were put here as babies. We've evolved from, every 7 years. And so we evolved physically. Why wouldn't we evolve mentally? Why wouldn't we evolve emotionally? Why wouldn't we evolve spiritually and even financially? So, when I'm talking with people, I ask why. A lot of times they tell me, well, I feel this is ridiculous, or I feel frustrated about this, or I feel this. I'll be like, why and why? And so we keep getting down to that why. And then we take it, to a higher power. Not everybody that I work with believes in a higher power. So maybe it's your deal to pray. Maybe you're a praying person. So I pray with people. I'm a praying person. And then maybe it's just to meditate. I am a prayer and meditation person. So some people that I'm not certain about their relationships, or I'm not trying to push anything on them, with the source and everything. They've got their own source, and they're not really, because really it is all about somebody's relationship with I try to help people find their own relationship to their source and their soul. So it's not even that. So they get to develop their own relationship and to realize their own strength and empowerment. See, because they get to learn to empower themselves. I'm not empowering anybody. They empower themselves. I help them realize those things by digging those things out and pulling that, showing them the light, and stuff. But they really find it themselves. And then there's the tapping that I do for people who are uncertain about a relationship with God at all. Some people just don't even want to talk about that. So we do some tapping because it's about the soul. So now we're getting down to the soul again. So I want to, let you ponder this. We talked about the shoulds, the people who said, I should be here, I should be there. And we talked about how, if you're not, then that you're not supposed to be there. That you're supposed to just enjoy this ride of evolvement and get yourself there. So we all make mistakes in this life, and it's for our evolution. This is the thing, is what if your soul and your ego rode right there together? So picture this, like your ego chakra. If you're not familiar with chakras, your ego chakra is in your solar plex. When I do some of my soul meditations, I, do my hands over like this, over my solar plex, because I do believe that my soul is connected there. The ego gets a bad rap, and the ego can hold you back, because the ego is the part of you sometimes in your mind that says, I know this, I should be, I know this, and it's that arrogant part of yourself. It can be. But the ego has a good use to it too, because the ego gives you your drive. See, so the shoulds are the soul and the ego without having harmony and without having balance. But if you have the soul and the ego having harmony and balance, you can get them connected together. Then you get to set a clear and concise intention. And that's what the ego and the soul are together in its balanced and harmonized form, is intention. So once you set that intention, you will understand through your relationship and your communication with your source, as you grow that, instead of being arrogant, thinking that you can just say that I want this on an intellectual level without connecting to your soul level and your ego level to get that drive to do this. Because the reason that successful people succeed is they stay consistent. They keep doing it. See, people want to think that they failed because they didn't get it in the time period that they thought they should have. But if you keep doing something, then you're practicing, and then it creates development, and then you are able to have your success in these micro levels that come in macro levels, and then you can exercise that gratitude, because gratitude is the biggest form of creating that calm, is to get grateful. See, we have a choice in flipping that switch. Are we going to go towards gratitude? Can I find the gratitude in this? What is the gratitude in this? Because an attitude of gratitude will take you a long way. And my friends say that you can't be hateful when you're grateful. So, how do we get centered in this calmness, through all of this and practice this spirituality? So now I'll take you on this guided meditation, just a short one, because we're going to run over the usual time that I usually do these, and your time is valuable to me, so I try to be mindful of that. So if you've stuck with me this long, I wish you'd leave me a comment that about this meditation. So like when you meditate with me in the sessions, I want you to take deep breaths, and we'll practice 3 together, and then I want you to continue doing that. So let's go in and then out. In and then out. In and out. Keep breathing. Notice your breath. That's part of your life force. And if you're breathing like this, it doesn't matter where you are financially. Right this moment does it. If you're calming your mind, right this moment, everything is fine with these breaths. When we calm like this, we can get creative. We can figure out these things, but we just have to get quiet and calm first, and it all starts with these breaths. So nothing that you may have collected materialistically is affecting you or dealing with you right now. If you're breathing these breaths, you're not distracting yourself with food or shopping. If you're breathing these breaths, you're able to gain money. You're healthy in some way, shape, or form if you're breathing. You're able to gain clarity. Continue to get quiet and allow yourself to go even deeper and feel that soul. Breathe in a little deeper down to your soul. Allow yourself to feel the winds of change sweeping over you. As that too is where calm is found, is in nature, the breeze through the trees. Those are free gifts. You don't have to buy. That you get to feel, taste, hear, see, touch, and smell. They help you connect with nature, and that helps you connect with Source. You didn't create all of that. We don't know how all that was created, and however you think that it was created is something, a power, something greater than you. So many times we fail to see the beauty in that when we're bombarded and feeling overwhelmed with all these other issues. encourage you to step outside. Take deep breaths. Know that you are connected. You are abundant. You are attentive. You are loved. You are powerful. And you are divine and connected to divine, to divinity. And that, my darlings, is where you'll find your serenity. That is where we find the calm. Is when we love ourselves enough to take these deep breaths and be willing to look at the other side of the things that are overwhelming to us. Because if you can think one thing, then you can think another. It's all about your choice. And that's what makes you powerful. And that helps you create your divine. So I hope that you will allow divine to be your new word in your vocabulary and that you will post it in the comments below. Okay? Because you were put here to evolve, to live, love, learn, and grow. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. I want to thank you once again for your time. And I hope that you'll have a good and blessed week. And I pray that, all these things seem less heavy to you. That you learn how to self-soothe yourself with that breathing. That you learn how to, that if you can feel one thing, to recognize how you're feeling. And if you can feel that, what is the opposite of that? And ask your source to take you to the opposite of that. And then have the patience to wait for it to happen, because that is where your magic, mystery, and miracles come from, my friends. So I look forward to connecting with you again next week, seeing how this all turned out. And remember to put divine in the comments below. And I wish you much love and peace, and I'll connect with you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye.